Welcome to Millennium Counseling Center's podcast, where each week we go in depth into all things mental health, addiction recovery, and being our healthiest and happiest self. Enjoy. I feel like as a clinician, going up against someone's brain is nearly impossible. And that's why I would say I would identify kind of similarly, maybe not so much as a somatic clinician, but more like an emotions or relational based clinician, where I I really just try to help people connect to what it's like to have feelings, and how does that become the understanding, kind of the emotional center of yourself. How does that help you, give you a chance to run different programs, but kind of immediately going to kind of the brain and the cognition on things, just for me, just doesn't seem to fit for my idea of how change works for people and how they can feel successful in an attempt to change. The other thing that you mentioned is something I've heard for over 25 years in the industry, is the more work that you do, the further and deeper you'll allow your clients to go. And I noticed that. And I've noticed that over the years, that there's something that comes up that almost kind of gets in the way of going to a harder place with somebody. And it's challenging but fascinating to recognize at the same time of like, okay, if I want to help this person, really help this person, I have to do something more within myself. And that's why I am grateful that I see my journey as a helper, alongside of me continuing to kind of explore and look at myself, regardless of how many years or how much experience or pedigree I may have in the field. Because I just never know what someone down the road is going to need from someone in that role to hold that space for them. And it may not be like where I am today, but maybe a future version of myself that has to continue to kind of go to harder places.
Mm. Yeah, I have a question for you. How does that show up in your practice? Are you aware of the places that you need to go within yourself that maybe haven't been explored to the depth that you desire? Or is that, are you experiencing that as your clients bring things into the door and then realizing kind of your own work? Or yeah, if you can discuss that a little bit.
Yeah. I probably notice it when the programs are really highly guarded. And so, kind of like what you were saying earlier, right? If someone's open and willing and it's like, I got all these patterns and I want to look at them, right? Like, okay, cool. you know, but, that's people tend to find me when it hasn't really worked with a lot of other people. And that is just kind of been my mentality of like, I've always wanted to push myself to be available for the people that have maybe felt like other attempts have not helped. And so I guess the way that I see that is when I feel energetically off, or I'm trying too hard to fix or help, rather than to just be present with whatever's presenting itself, that's cluing me in that there's another part of me that's trying to intervene, rather than my authentic self, which is just to kind of help them become more present to the room and how they feel. So that's probably the clue for me when I notice it.
Then do you have a practice for how you then unpack that work for yourself?
I tried to do like 10 burpees and some squats, reverse lunges. Sometimes I'll name it just in the space. I'll just say, "Look, I think I'm trying to kind of fix too much. I'm trying to solve this too much, and I just wanna acknowledge and own that." That's something about where we are in this relationship together right now that I'm noticing that I'm just trying to do more than what I feel like is required of me in this moment. And that tends to kind of reorient me to the space, and that, like, somebody is like, I what do you mean?" Like, I don't know what you're talking about. We were just talking." I'm like, "Yeah, but that I'm not just talking. That's not what I'm doing."
Right.
And so that really helps me, and I think it helps other people realize that what I'm really trying to be in that moment is just kind of present for what's there.
Yeah, and there's something I want to piggyback on that you just said, and it speaks to both of our roles. We're same field, different space. Is the work is about presence because I can't change somebody else. You can't change somebody else. The people that we work with, they can change. They're the only ones that fully know what's happening
Player
inside
1,
of them.
player 1.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And we're creating the space and the safety to allow for that exploration to go to a depth that maybe it wouldn't go otherwise, or asking a right question, or mirroring back something that they wouldn't see without someone else present. And when I first started doing this work after my own journey, there's that part of like, oh shit, I've changed so much. I really want this for other people. And then going through that process with people and seeing them be on the cusp, seeing them so close to like identifying a pattern or having a breakthrough or meeting some nervous system resistance that, you know, like the protector in me, the rooter in me, even maybe my ego. It's like, "You're so close. I want this for you so bad." And knowing that that's not my role is like my role is in allowing them to connect and find that space within themselves to be aware of these things. Because of course, I could probably point out everything that I see.
sure.
But if I do that, they're not going to embody it. They're not going to connect to it. And the whole thing about change is embodiment. You got to live it. You got to be it. You got to connect to it. And if somebody else does it for you, you're not going to be that connected to it.
Yeah. Recently, I said to a client that if I'm doing my job really well, you're saying things to me that you haven't really even been able to acknowledge to yourself. And man, what an honor, privilege, whatever, like whatever word you want to throw in there, right? To like, I feel grateful that I am in the place that I am in my journey of life, my personal life. And that came with like growth. And if I can have a skill and have a place where people can come and try that out, I mean, that's like pretty cool.
Yeah. And I sit in that same place with you, hearing people say that to me of, I've never said those words out loud, or I didn't even know that I was aware of the thing that I'm saying. It's a privilege. It's an honor to create that type of safety and space that allows people to explore parts of them that they don't even know want to be dealt with.
Yeah.
And for myself, this is such a weird space because I feel like at a lot of different parts of my life, my body has been asking for certain things. And from my own programming of, power through, if you, go to work when you're sick, go to school when you're sick, you're pretty much like taught, or at least my perception, like I was taught to like ignore my body. Like my body is what gets in the way of my mind performing. And it's like, no, the body's letting me know, hey, you're tired. You should rest. That's why it's quitting on me. And my response is, I'm going harder. Like, you're not quitting on me. I'm going harder. And I know that from my work environment, from my peers, a lot of people do the same thing. Is when our bodies are giving us signals, we don't pay attention to those signals. So then there creates this like almost like a distrust between our minds and our bodies, and this war for like sovereignty, who's right, who's in control.
Mhm.
And it's a complete ecosystem where the body knows everything, the body keeps the score. And frankly, the mind is interesting because the mind can do anything. The mind, I have a lot of opinions on the mind. The mind is the most brilliant thing that's ever existed, and it's the dumbest thing that ever existed. Your mind will take one piece of information and extrapolate that to be the entire universe. And so it can take the smallest thing and make it everything.
Mhm.
And that smallest thing can be false.
Mhm.
But the body knows everything. And I think for me, it's really important to come back to the body, to come back to the breath, to come back to sensation and that connection.
Yeah. Well, man, these are great combos. I know we're planning on more, so we're gonna have to like let listeners have cliffhanger maybe or whatever the kids say these days, you know. But Ra, I appreciate you, man, the work you've done and how you show up and your friendship and allowing, you know, me to feel comfortable talking about, different parts of my life.
Yeah, and it's up to you, man. I really appreciate the space that you hold. It's very dear to me, and I love our friendship, and I love the depth that we can take a conversation. So thank you for the time, always.
Yeah, man. Okay, till next time.
All right, let's love, G.
Hey, let's do it.
All right, peace.
Bye.